This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. Every year as the school year starts, we like to check in with Bill Harbron, Superintendent of Schools here in Dover, on the state of education and what we can look forward to, or what the students can look forward to in the coming year. Bill is with us today for apparently our last chat, the new school year. Bill, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
The school year ended a couple months ago, and in that meantime, I know that the world doesn't end. You don't lock up the doors and everyone goes away. There's still activity that occurs, both at administrative level and in buildings. What's been occurring over at the schools?
Well, I think the major thing is there was a lot of groundwork laid last year for a multi-tiered system of supports. And what we did out of the ESSER 3 funds was invest in the training of all the administrators, so that they really had a good understanding, a good grounding in what is multi-tier systems of support. So that model will continue to be the framework from which we work from. And this year, the focus will be on starting to get teachers trained in that process also. So the first cohort of teachers will actually go to the same training in which the administrators received this past year. The other part of that is that each school now has what is referred to as a guiding coalition, which is a leadership body for that school made up of the teachers and the administrators that help set the direction, particularly when it comes to student learning and student achievement for the school. So structure-wise or framework-wise, it's multi-tiered system of support.
So is it primarily based on curriculum, or is there social aspects to it? How does a student interact with the multi-tier system?
Well, what you have is 3 levels. And the first level, or tier 1, is that every student, the aim is for every student to achieve the significant benchmarks or goals or parts of the curriculum that we want all students to learn. Then if they do need intervention, there's the temporary intervention that's done at level 2 to look at specifically where do they need additional support in those areas. And there may be other students that need even more additional support through tier 3 in order to achieve those outcomes, those learning outcomes or standards on it. But the idea is it's fluid, so intervention is going on all the time. And tier 3 should not be confused that is a special ed classification. It's simply that student needs more intensified interventions to help them to be successful in reaching the grade level standards.
It seems to me that over time we've recognized that all students need multiple interactions with their peers, with their teachers, and with the administrative staff. That it isn't, as you say, it's not just special ed. It's not just folks that have an IEP, that there are interactions at all tiers for all students. And maybe some students fall into one tier more than others, but we really need to provide a safety net for all kids to give them that equal playing field to learn their best way.
The focus still comes back always to tier 1. What are those grade level standards that you want every student to make sure that they learn?
Yeah.
And the idea is that sometimes people may have to learn it in a different way or take a longer period of time to be able to achieve that. So that's where the tier 2 comes in, where it was one level of intervention, and level 3 another level of intervention, and so that all those students can achieve those grade level standards that have been identified as the most significant.
You've been in education for multiple decades at this point. How has this idea evolved in your mind over that time?
Well, I can remember when it was first rolled out when I was back in Wisconsin. It was called RTI. In fact, the training everybody goes to that's been sent to us called RTI at work, which is just another form of saying MTSS. And it's basically the same identical model, except for it had a different name to it on it. So it's been around for a while. But at the same time, I think what is happening, we are taking a definite look at it so that we have a common structure, a common direction in the district of how we're going to do business so all students can learn and achieve.
And how has the staff embraced this idea when you've been rolling it out with trainings and with materials over the past couple months? or year for that matter. How has it been received?
Well, like I said, the first level was to get every one of the administrators in the district from district level to building level trained so they had a solid understanding. So the rollout with staff is just starting. For an example, this summer training was done for the guiding coalitions so they understand how their work is changing, that we're not just here to do different mechanical things or scheduling things. I mean, that's part of it. But actually to look at how our students are performing, what are we attempting to do, and what do we need to do as a school-wide, as that leadership team, looking and coordinating what's taking place with the learning programs within the school.
How long do you think the full rollout will take?
I am predicting that we are going to see within the next 5 years a different school district, a district that performs at a much higher level for all students. And that is the most important part, is that this is designed for all students, not a few to be successful, but for all students to be successful. So as we keep moving in the direction of having a well-articulated curriculum, you work within the framework of MTSS, I think over the next 5 years, you're just going to see the district continue to improve with student learning and student achievement. And I think that's also going to affect how students are engaged with the learning process also.
During your tenure as Dover Superintendent of Schools, one thing that jumped out to me is your embracing of strategic planning and thinking not just to the end of my arm, but well beyond it, and really looking to the future and seeing what steps need to be put in place now. Is this a reflection of those efforts?
I would say yes, and I would also say this year we took a look at our previous strategic plan, which has expired, and put a group together to design another strategic plan. So it's basically done, except for the SMART goals have to be identified, and that's the next step in the process that we hope to have accomplished by the end of October, by the beginning of November on it. But we wanted a one-page strategic plan because we have the 25, 30 pages.
Yep.
Who opens the binder again?
Right.
And so this will be concise, and also then the SMART goals will be elaborated out so you know exactly what are the success points that you're looking for in each of those SMART goals. So the next thing to do right now is to do the SMART goals of that strategic plan.
So that is the behind-the-scenes aspects of the summer. Have there been any improvements to the facilities or any changes that students will see from an aesthetic or exterior view?
Well, I think the biggest change is going to be that you will have Francis G. Hopkins that will be dehumidified and air conditioned.
Nice.
You have the same thing with Woodland Park occurring. At the middle school, all the ductwork is in, all the preliminaries are done. Next year, the units will be installed to do the dehumidification and air conditioning at the middle school. That has been the major emphasis this year, was getting those two major projects done and then move on to the third one the summer of 25.
That's great. Those have been a long time coming. Yes. And just for the listener, Dover High and Garrison, you didn't mention them because they already have the systems.
That is correct.
So as we move forward through the school year, what are some of your goals as you look to the future?
I think what we want to do is make sure, one, the strategic plan is completed and is realistic. That's number one. Mike Gillis and I have been working on a communication plan for the district. That's another aspect that I want to make sure that gets completed before I leave. And then the other thing, the third major thing, is that Dr. Boss and I make an effective transition of leadership, which that's going to take the year to get accomplished. Mm-hmm. But I also think the board was very wise in that selection. This is a very highly qualified person that has a whole different background than what I do, has a whole different skill set, which will be very well utilized by this district. And I think this allows us to transition and to do it well. And then look to the future. Do we want to continue with an assistant superintendent, or do we want to look at more of a personnel role in the future? Because personnel issues at times can become very complicated to deal with and take up lots of time. So where there's some thinking going around, rather than doing assistant soup, potentially looking at a personnel department in order to handle those type of situations.
And for the listener, I was sort of tiptoeing around it, but you alluded to it. You have given your notice that to the school board that this will be your last term as our superintendent, and that the school board went through a recruitment process and it's appointed Dr. Christine Boston as your successor.
Correct.
And Dr. Boston has been with the school department for a while now.
I think 16 or 17 years.
I'll give that a 1. So as you look towards your wrap up, are there some things that you look at and say, I've got a year to get these done and these are what I want to focus on? Or do you stay the course with some of the things that have already been identified through the strategic plan? And as you just noted, some of the other elements, are there things that you want to look at and say, oh, I've got 9 months, I got to get this done?
Well, I think what we're looking at is that it's well planned out with the MTSS implementation. You have some new curriculum adoptions coming on, particularly for K through 4 with literacy, and then also for 5 through 8 with literacy. Those will be rolled out this year. So those things are well mapped out. Large number of people were highly involved in the selection of the curriculum materials. In fact, the teaching and learning department did a phenomenal job with that. So I think it's just now we're at the point of the implementation and making sure what we do it well. And it's definitely having an impact on student learning and achievement.
From the standpoint of personnel, have there been any other administrative changes over the past?
Well, Lindsay Doobie will be the principal for Dover Middle School. There's a couple, we're still looking for a dean of student services for the middle school. I think they've narrowed that down to 2 candidates. Everybody else is in place like they were last year. So there's no significant changes in the leadership team.
Great. I know on the city side, we are really struggling with finding employees. I think last I looked, there were about 30 vacancies across the various departments. Are you seeing similar vacancy rates in the teacher ranks, or are you seeing less of an issue recruiting?
I think everybody's having an issue with recruiting just because there's not enough people out there for some reason. But at this point in time, most of our positions are filled. What we are still in need of is paraeducators, particularly at the high school for paraeducators. And I think we have 1 or 2 still special education teacher vacancies. Overall, the elementaries are fully staffed. The middle school has the dean of student services, and I think 1 special ed teacher left to hire, and I think that's in the final stages. So I think overall, compared to last year at this time, we're in much better space than what we were.
I hazard to bring it up because I know there's some controversy with it, and it's almost more of a city council project than a school project, though it certainly affects the schools. But the high school football field conversation that is being held, where is the school department on that?
Well, I think we have Dr. Boston has been attending those meetings. Michael Amandi, the CFO, has been attending when it deals with financial portions of it. I think we're waiting to hear what is the final plan, what is the potential cost of that plan, because we also realize that if there is bonding for that definitely impacts our budget.
Sure.
And also it's going to require additional revenue in order to pay back that bond.
Right.
And so I think that's what we're monitoring to see, okay, what direction is this going to go?
When you think about the school year, do you think about the excitement of a new school year, or are you sort of thinking about the not deflation, but the coming down off the high of being the superintendent?
No, I'm excited about this school year, and I'm excited that Christine will be the one walking into the position, or I should say walking in, has earned the right to be in that position. And I value the time we'll have to work together. I think overall we have a strong teaching and learning department, that this will be their 3rd year in that structure. And ever since they've come on board, there has just been great energy around teaching and learning and curriculum. Before, that area was understaffed and one person just couldn't manage grants and do everything else. Now you have 4 people collectively working together and things get done. And they are extremely talented educators. And it has made a big difference in what this district has been able to achieve in the last couple of years.
Well, for me, I want to say that I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your knowledge base and definitely your commitment to educating children. I think that is, you've never been shy about saying that your goal is to make sure that Dover students are educated to the level they need to be educated at, the entrance points that they need to be educated at, and recognizing that each kid has their own needs and own style. And I appreciate that you brought that warmth to the role. And I look forward to seeing you on the podium side, yelling at the school board and joining others that provide feedback.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words.
Have a great day, and thank you for coming in.
Good. Thank you so much.
Well, August is wrapped up, and with that, a lot of activity and programming and policy making has been completed by our boards, commissions, and committees. Today, we're going to talk to Brian Early of our Media Services Department and Erin Bassegio of our Planning Department and find out what's been going on. Brian, what can you tell us about the City Council's activities this month?
Thanks, Chris. Last month, City Council began its month with a workshop to receive an overview of the city's paid parking system and also the library renovation update. The parking system update looked at the history, where it stands, and future challenges. The library renovation has been in the works for the past few years, which includes a small addition and extensive interior renovation. The work is anticipated to begin this fiscal year. Stay tuned for updates on how the library plans to work around the disruptions. And then for the regular meetings, it was fairly light agendas. They authorized some additional scope for the Garrison Hill water tank rehabilitation work. They're looking to add some transmission lines from Garrison Hill Tower over to Oak and Broadway area. That was the area where they had some failures last month that led to the closure of Broadway for almost nearly a day. Now, the Garrison Hill work is expected to begin later this year. They're going to re-drain the tank and do all the work in the interior of it. City Council also authorized a contract with a consultant to evaluate Crosby Road roadside swales and culverts, looking at stormwater improvements and seeking some recommendations. It's an area that's been known to be flooding in different rain events. This month, the City Council is going to be looking at the city's curbside waste and recycling collection program. They're going to have a workshop on it tomorrow. This stems from a lot of work that they've been doing for the past couple of years, hiring a consultant to review and look at the industry standards coming up. And they also tasked SWAC, which is the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, to look at what's going on, what they recommend. They've been doing a lot of work in the past few months to bring up some recommendations to the City Council to consider for further work. On the school board side, one of the major things was the school board appointed Christine Boston as the successor to Dr. William Harberin, the superintendent for the past few years. She doesn't start till next year, but this year she'll be following Dr. Harberin around and preparing for the transition coming up. And of course, school's back in session.
You know, in addition to the parking workshop, the Parking Commission itself held a meeting earlier that night, and they talked about the holiday shopping and getting geared up for some free parking that will occur in the garage or on the 4th Street parking lot between 9 and 5 on this Saturdays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's something that's happened in the past that they're looking to solidify long term. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about land use. But before we do that, I want to just give a brief waterfront update. The Waterfront Park Subcommittee met and they looked at paver selections. They looked at the park pavilion, how it'll interplay with the larger Nebby Park. And they've had conversations about crosswalks and other landscape amenities. They continue to drill down on how to make the best park possible and look at where public art might be located as well. Erin, what can you tell us about our land use boards? What did they do this month?
Thanks, Chris. Quick update on Brian's updates over there. City Council also approved a term extension for the ad hoc committee to address community housing needs. The committee's report is now expected to council before the end of January in 2025. And for land use boards, the ZBA met in August and denied a variance request for a project on Richmond Street and approved an application for a variance related to a creation of a 4-unit structure on Locust Street. This application has actually received a request to be reheard, so you will hear more about that application in September. The Conservation Commission endorsed a conditional use permit for the organization Our Place, which is planning to open at 105 Durham Road. Our Place will provide residential options and services for adults with developmental disabilities. Conservation Commission also saw a few other environmental CUPs that they endorsed in August, and a couple of the CUPs were then heard by Planning Board. Both of them happened to be on Spur Road. And the Planning Board also reviewed and approved a site plan for a parking lot at 1 Grove Street for Hampshire Control Corp. This is a Dover-based company that plans to expand its operations there. The board also recommended to council the approval of amendments to the Community Development Block Grant Action Plans. The amendments included the funding of additional CDBG projects for CAP and My Friend's Place. These were primarily for improvements and expansion of housing operations for both organizations. And finally, the board continued its discussion on the future of impact fees in Dover. Based on a review of a recent analysis of Dover's impact fees, the board has requested draft language to review at their next meeting. This could significantly revise the impact fee program. And one more mention, the steering committee met for the update project for the Conservation and Open Space chapter of the master plan. They reviewed a draft outline and draft action plans for the chapter and reviewed the community feedback that we've received so far. And if any residents have any questions about the project or still would like to give feedback, they can do so on the city website. There's a master plan webpage where they can still provide feedback. And that's all for August land use meetings.
Well, that's great. I'm glad to see that we've had some good activity this month and that there's some thoughtful decision-making occurring. You know, it's interesting. We have these boards, committees, and commissions, and they're filled with great volunteers and committed members of our community. But there always is vacancies, and there's always room for more people to join up and get involved. Just because you think that there's a committee that has full representation doesn't mean you shouldn't put in an application. It's a great time, if you're thinking about getting involved, to get involved. I encourage you to go to our boards and commissions page on our city website and see where vacancies might occur, and then reach out to the staff liaison for each board and committee that has a vacancy and see what it might be like to be a participant in those activities. As always, we appreciate our volunteers and we appreciate the efforts that are put in to making Dover a better community. We'll see you next month. Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.